Değerli katılımcılar, ben eğitimci.
Distinguished participants, my name is Saadet Roach. I'm an education specialist, and I would like to welcome you to the Timss Conference, organized by Ankara Education Platform. To listen to the interpretation, please click on the interpretation icon and choose the channel as relevant, and please type your questions in the chat box. Distinguished members of press, if you have questions, you can type them in the chat box throughout the webinar.
Educator, welcome to the Timss webinar conference of the Ankara Education Platform. To use the interpretation service provided, please click the interpretation section in the meeting controls and select the language channel. Please write your questions in the chat box. The members of the press are also kindly asked to write their questions in the chat box. Thank you for joining us today.
Ankara Eğitim Platformu'nun düzenlemiş olduğu Tasarım Beceri Atölyeleri ve 21. Yüzyıl Becerileri Konferansı'na hepiniz hoş geldiniz. Bizler Ankara Eğitim Platformu üyesi okullar olarak ülkemize emanet edeceğimiz gençlerimizi, çocuklarımızı nasıl daha üst düzey yetişmiş bireyler olarak topluma kazandırabiliriz diye 2 yıldır çok büyük bir çabanın içerisindeyiz. Bu çabayı gerçekleştirmek için de elimizde çok değerli bir anahtar var. Öğretmenlerimiz.
Değerli misafirler, şimdi konferansımız için Türkiye'ye gelen PISA direktörü Sayın Andreas Schiller'i davet ediyorum. Buyurunuz lütfen.
And as teachers, you are torn between, the idea to educate young people for their future, for the 21st century. And then at the other end, you have an exam that tells you, teach them for the 19th century. That kind of tension is very, very important. And I know the life of that is difficult. And that's really the idea behind the PISA assessment, to look forward, to look towards the future. The knowledge and skills that will be crucial for young people to succeed. So when you see improvements in Turkey, see them against the context about a world that is actually not adapting, not changing, not improvement, despite the fact that, expenditure has grown a lot. I do believe that actually Turkey is on a very promising path. Remember, the world hasn't changed very much in education. Turkey has been among a handful of countries that have bucked that trend and moved forward. But there's still a long way to go. Thank you very much.
Türkiye Cumhuriyeti Milli Eğitim Bakanımız Profesör Doktor Sayın Ziya Selçuk Beyefendi'yi konuşmalarını yapmak üzere kürsüye arz ederim. Buyurunuz efendim.
Milli Eğitim Bakanlığı açısından ekip arkadaşlarımla beraber, Türkiye'nin birikimiyle beraber bir paradigma değişikliği ihtiyacının farkındayız. Hayatın bizden beklentisi çocuklarımızın tam çocuk olması. Ne demek tam çocuk? Duygusuyla, düşüncesiyle, eylemiyle çocuğun her yönden gelişmesi, sadece soru çözmemesi, aynı zamanda sorun çözmesi. Tasarım beceri atölyeleri bizim bu uluslararası çalışmaları dikkate alarak da Türkiye'nin ihtiyacını da odak noktasına koyarak çok üzerinde durduğumuz bir konu. Bizim üniversite sınavını beklememiz gerekmiyor. Bizim ilkokuldan itibaren binlerce kez çocuğa bu fırsatı yaşama imkanı sunmamız gerekiyor. Bizim bu anlamda tasarım beceri atölyelerinin ilerleyişine şahitliğimiz bizi mutlu kılıyor. Çünkü birkaç yüz tane bir yıl içerisinde atölye hedeflenirken bu ay itibariyle 5000'den fazla Türkiye'de resmi okullarımızda atölyeler hayata geçti, çalışıyorlar. Bununla ilgili de sürekli bir artış var. Bu artışın nicel tarafı elbette önemli. Ama asıl okulu bir hayat alanına, bir yaşama sevincini hissedecekleri ortama dönüşmesi bizi mutlu ediyor. Ben burada olduğunuz için emeği geçen herkese, bu süreci yöneten herkese, katkı veren herkese tekrar teşekkür ediyorum. Saygılar, sevgiler efendim.
Değerli katılımcılar, Ankara Eğitim Platformu'nun düzenlemiş
Distinguished
olduğu
participants, welcome to the Timss Conference organized by Ankara Education Platform. To listen to interpretation, you need to click on the interpretation button and choose the channel as relevant. Please type your questions in the chat box. Members of press throughout the webinar can use the chat box to type their questions.
webinar conference of the Ankara Education Platform. To use the interpretation service provided, please click the interpretation section in the meeting controls and select the language channel. Please write your questions in the chat box. The members of the press are also kindly asked to write their questions in the chat box. Thank you for joining us today.
Hoş geldiniz. İsmim Mirkan Aydın, Ankara Eğitim
Welcome,
Platformu.
my name is Mirkan Aydın. I'm the president of the Ankara Education Platform. Mr. Hassan, we are sorry for the delay.
I'm going to make the opening speech right now. Thank you for waiting us.
I'll do the opening speech. Thank you.
Sayın Bakanım, Sayın IED,
Your Excellency, Minister of National Education, distinguished Director of IEA, distinguished representatives from state agencies, NGOs, members of press and education professionals. Welcome to the Timss 2019 Evaluation Conference organized by Ankara Education Platform. My name is Mirkan Aydın. I'm the president of Ankara Education Platform. I greet you on behalf of all the platform members with all due respect. International Association for the Evaluation of Educational Achievement, EIA, conducts trends in international mathematics and science study every 4 years. And this study has been conducted for more than 25 years with the participation of nearly 60 countries worldwide. Results of Timss 2019 were published last December and made a great echo all around the world. Turkey achieved remarkable results in this study. And today, we are here to talk about this study and its results with two distinguished figures. Professor Ziya Selçuk, Minister of National Education of Turkey, who considers international evaluation as highly important and therefore strives for high results in such, and Dr. Dirk Hassel, the Executive Director of EIA. Ankara Education Platform consists of prestigious education providers. His Excellency, Mr. Minister, welcome. Thank you very much. Welcome. Thank you so much. If I may, I would like to continue my opening remarks. Yes, of course, go ahead, please, Mr. Mirkan Aydın. Ankara Education Platform consists of prestigious education providers, and since its establishment, the platform has focused on the universal values of education and worked hard to help Turkey's education sector to achieve and exceed international standards while relying on local and national achievements in Turkey. Ankara Education Platform, both on institutional level and individual level of its members, has always focused on the essence of education and focuses on the teacher and student uses its material and moral achievements for further improvement in education and invest in education professionals rather than PR and brands. I'd like to show you a video about this platform.
Özellikle küresel salgın döneminde eğitim sektörü
Especially during the global pandemic, the sector has been through a very tough test. Since the first week, when the schools suspended face-to-face education, schools and teachers have not stopped working despite the challenges and used distance learning to continue delivering the curriculum. Classes, tests, assignments, activities of sports and arts were done at home. Many other sectors felt hopeless around the world, but education professionals have always been there for their students. When face-to-face education was resumed, schools swiftly took all measures for sanitation and started delivery immediately and implemented hybrid models when required. Today, thousands of professionals are watching us online using this opportunity, and I would like to appreciate their selfless efforts during distance education and face-to-face education during the pandemic. In distance education, we achieved a progress of 50 years in 1 year only, experiencing both its advantages and disadvantages. I think we all agree that distance education and technology in general will not replace the teacher and the school for a long time. Therefore, for our future, our request from decision makers in Turkey and around the world is to manage the process while considering the importance of keeping schools open and operational while taking decisions on restrictions, vaccination schemes, and all other decisions concerning public health. Now I would like to introduce you the Executive Director of the International Association for Evaluation of Education Achievement.
Dr. Dirk Hastad. He oversees IAS operations, studies, and services, and drives the IAS overall strategic vision. Moreover, he develops and maintains strong relationships with member countries, researchers, policymakers, and other key players in the education sector. Dr. Hastad also serves as co-editor-in-chief of IEA ETS Research Institute Journal, Large Scale Assessments in Education. On behalf of Ankara Education Platform, we are sincerely grateful to Dr. Hastad and his colleagues for their time, for their humble communication with us, and especially for this opportunity to learn more about student achievement across the world. Mr. Hastad, microphone is yours.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure that you invited me to this conference. I'm absolutely sorry that I can't be in your beautiful country today, but the current time have made us all change plans, and it's wonderful to have the opportunity here to talk to you. I want to talk about what the IA actually is. I want to talk about how we conduct our studies, to give you some background on our studies. And then the probably most important and interesting part of all of you, is the results of Timss 29 with a special focus on Turkey. So let me start. By the IA. The IA is a non-governmental research organization. We are an independent international cooperative of national research institutions, but also governmental research agencies. The IA is founded in 1958 and has conducted since then more than 30 research studies of cross-national achievement. We're looking into large-scale comparative studies of educational achievement and also other aspects of education. We have more than 60 member countries and institutions, and nearly 100 countries are participating in our studies. And here you can see that we have members from all around the world. Mind you that IA accepts only one member per country to represent the country. Members comprise of universities, research organizations, and ministries of education. The Turkish member of IA is the Ministry of National Education. So let me talk about our studies. Our studies enable countries to review the achievement of their students in an international context. They can compare their students' achievement to achievement of students in other countries. And what's most important, it's they can evaluate the relationship of the student achievement with other factors, like the student background, like socioeconomic status or gender of students, their teacher backgrounds, because we collect data from the teachers about the teacher's education and teaching style, about school background, like school location, school infrastructure, leadership style, but also about communities, so that you can compare rural and urban schools. International large-scale assessment complement national assessment and system monitoring activities. It's not a substitute, but it is something to complement the picture to education that you can have. IA studies are always based on a curriculum model. This is for us important for the relevance of our studies to policymakers and practitioners. So we look at the intended curriculum, so what is supposed to be taught in a school. We look to the implemented curriculum, so what teachers are actually teaching in the countries around the world. And we looked at the achieved curriculum, so what students know and can do. All our assessment follows a specific assessment design. We sample schools, and within each school, we sample 1 or 2 classrooms. The students in these classrooms are then tested, and they're getting a background questionnaire. Also, their school principals are getting a background questionnaire. Their mathematics and their science teachers are getting a background questionnaire. And for Timss in grade 4, we also have a questionnaire for the parents of the assessed students, so that we get the full picture of the background of the assessed students and the teaching context. Now I would like to show you a short 2-minute video, since sometimes I think moving pictures are much easier to help understanding how a study is conducted.
A study framework is developed based on the intended curricula of participating countries. This is reviewed by all the education systems involved. Assessments and questionnaires are developed. Countries comment on all the ideas, suggest new items, and collaboratively review all the assessment materials. All assessment materials are adapted and translated into the official languages of participating countries. Every translation is then verified by independent experts. For every country, a sample of approximately 150 schools is drawn. From that, 1 classroom per school is selected for assessment. Comprehensive assessment does not only involve testing students, teachers, principals, and parents are also invited to complete shorter background questionnaires designed to provide contextual information. Student assessment takes no more than 90 minutes, and background questionnaires take about 20 minutes to complete. Items are scored, and all the results are recorded in our own specialist software system. The application of advanced statistical methods enables the production of valid, internationally comparable population estimates. Achievement scores for students are calculated, and national and international averages form part of the analyses. An international report is developed in collaboration with the representatives from each education system. Results are released and disseminated. All data are made publicly available and used by policymakers and researchers across the globe to improve learning for all.
So with that short video, one thing I think that I really would like you to take with you is that all our studies are a collaborative effort of all participating countries. All the materials, all the study framework, and also later the report is a development that's jointly developed by all participants. And that is very important for us. We don't want to dictate what's right and what's wrong, but we want to cooperate with the countries on how we can do our studies, how we can conduct them, and what we can learn from them. But now let's come specifically to Timss. As already mentioned, Timss is conducted every 4 years since 1995. So in 2019, the 7th cycle of Timss was administered. This means that we have 24 years of trends of mathematics and science achievement and its relation to background information that can be investigated with the Timss data. Timss targets 2 grades, grade 4 and grade 8. So we assess students towards the end of primary education and towards the end of secondary education. We sample a minimum of 150 schools and about 4,000 students per grade. We are collecting students' data and contextual data from principals, parents, teachers. And also there's a curriculum questionnaire that's been completed by all countries to give the background of the study. The assessment consists of 14 mathematics and 14 science blocks. The overall testing time would be about 16 hours. What we do is a rotation system so that every student gets a fragment of these. In 2019, we also have eTimss. eTimss is an electronic version of Timss. It provides an enhanced measurement, extended coverage of mathematics and science frameworks. It includes also some very innovative problem-solving and inquiry tasks. And you can see on the screen one of the examples how that could look like. Their students were asked to make an experiment about plants grow and the influence of water supply, fertilizer, and light. Results of Timss and eTimss will be presented on the same scale. And in the next cycle, the Timss 2023, we will move fully digital. In grade 4, you can see here the participants, and Turkey, as you can see, is one of the countries that participated in Timss grade 4 assessment. And these are the participants in grade 8. And again, Turkey also participated in grade 8. That means we have results from grade 4 as well as grade 8 from Turkey that we can look at in an international context. And as you can see, we also have some countries who have chosen to have sub-regions of the countries, which we call benchmark participants, also participating in our study. So let's now come to the interesting part, which actually is the Timss 2019 results. In mathematics, grade 4 reached a good place in the top half. 17 countries achieved better on average. Countries like Cyprus, Finland, Portugal, Denmark, Hungary, Sweden, Germany, Poland, Australia, Azerbaijan, Bulgaria, and Italy have similar results. And 28 countries achieved lower results in mathematics in grade 4 than Turkey. So congratulations to these excellent results. In grade 8, 14 countries have better average results, and countries like Norway, Sweden, Cyprus, Portugal, Italy, and Kazakhstan reached similar results as Turkey. 18 other countries have lower achievement than Turkey. In science, Turkish students did even better. For grade 4, 12 countries did better than Turkey. And countries like Czech Republic, Australia, Hong Kong, Poland, Hungary, Ireland, Croatia, Canada, Denmark, Austria, Bulgaria, and Slovak Republic, Northern Ireland, Netherlands, Germany, and Serbia had similar achievement. And 29 countries were outperformed by the Turkish grade 4 students. In grade 8, 9 countries did better than Turkey. And Ireland, United States, Sweden, Portugal, Israel, and Hong Kong had similar results. And 22 countries were outperformed by the Turkish grade 8 students in science. So congratulations to these very excellent results. Interesting is, of course, to look at the trend achievement. And what we could see there is a steep increase of the average achievement of the Turkish students. If we look at the trends between 2011, 2015, and 2019, Turkey participated in each of these cycles. The first time in grade 4, so I have no trends for grade 4, but for grade 8, we see this steep increase of achievement. And this is really, really amazing. Also, a very interesting issue is always gender differences. And what we found in Timss overall is that in 4th grade mathematics, boys outperform girls in almost half of the countries. And the interesting thing here is that of those 9 countries, the increase, the differences appeared between 2015 and 2019. And this suggests an increased gender gap favoring boys around the world. There were only 4 countries where girls performed higher than boys. So we can say that gender equity around the world, and this is international results, eroded in the short term from between 2015 and 2019 for mathematics grade 4. But let's also look at the Turkish results. In Turkey, girls did better than boys in 2007 in mathematics and in science. In 2019, boys caught up and now are achieving similar results to girls. The remaining difference in Turkey that we can see is not statistically significant. So the difference between the 490 and 501 in mathematics, for example, and the 510 and 520 in science. Statistically, that's very, very similar and we can see differences. Another interesting aspect for me is always to look at different achievement levels. So in Timss, we have a low benchmark, we have an intermediate benchmark, a high benchmark, and an advanced benchmark, which is consequently reached by fewer and fewer students. So whereas 92% internationally reach a low benchmark, only 6 to 7% of grade 4 students reach the advanced benchmark in mathematics as well as in science. The same is true for grade 8. Again, we have the low benchmark, the intermediate benchmark, the high benchmark, and advanced benchmark. And we had between 85 and 87% reaching the low benchmark internationally, and only 5 to 7% on average reaching the advanced benchmark. But we also have these results country by country. So this is the top part of an international table. And the table shows the percentage of students in each country reaching each of these 4 benchmarks. You can see on top of the table, Singapore is the country where the highest percentage of students is reaching the advanced benchmark with 51% of students. 79% of the Singaporean students reached a high benchmark, 92% the intermediate benchmark, and 98%, so almost all the low benchmark. If we now focus on the results for Turkey, we can see that 12% of the Turkish grade 8 students reached the advanced international benchmark. And this is a very, very good result, I have to admit, if you look at the other countries' results. That's among the top 10 with that result. But surprisingly, only 80% of the students reached a low benchmark, which means, on the other hand, that 20% of the Turkish students did not reach the minimum proficiency level of Timss. The low benchmark for Timss is also recognized by the UNESCO as a minimum proficiency level that all students should reach. And we can see that also only 56% of the students were reaching the second lowest benchmark, which is significantly lower than for other countries with similar average achievement. This indicates that the spectrum of student abilities in Turkey is quite wide, with a very good percentage of students reaching the high proficiency levels, but also a relatively high number of students not reaching the low ability levels. And here we have the same results for science, and the results are very, very similar. So again, we see 48% of the Singaporean students reach the advanced benchmark, and so on and so forth. And when we now focus on Turkey, we can see that very similar results as for mathematics, with 13% of the students reaching the advanced benchmark. Again, excellent results. But only 88% of the students reach a low benchmark, which means that 12% were not able to get to the minimum proficiency standards. Overall, I think this is a very good result on the high end of the ability distribution, and much better than for mathematics also on the lower end. But still, there's some way to go for Turkey to get also the rest of the students to the low benchmark, at least. And for grade 4, we see again the same, a good percentage of the Turkish student reaching the advanced benchmark, but also a relative high percentage of students did not reach the minimum low benchmark. And again, the same picture also for science in grade 4. A good percentage of students reaching excellent results, but again, also a good percentage of students not reaching the minimum standard. Another topic that we looked in internationally is bullying. In Timss 2019, we found that bullying is a cause of concern. Although nearly 2/3 of students reported being bullied less than monthly, but disturbingly, that means that about 1/3 of the students reported bullying monthly or even weekly internationally. And also Turkey followed the international trend, with 30% of grade 8 students reporting bullying about monthly or weekly. And in grade 4, it's even 40% reported being bullying about monthly or weekly. I think internationally, for everyone working in education, this gives us a task. And I think we need to look at students feeling comfortable, safe, and healthy in all our schools worldwide. Another remarkable result from Timss 2019 is professional development needs. We ask the teachers of the assessed students about their professional development needs. And internationally, 71% of the teachers teaching grade 8 students indicated a need for future professional development towards integrating technology into mathematics instruction. And again, this is data from 2019. So I think it's very, very important also if we look at the current times where digital proficiency in integrating technology into instruction is a means to help continuing teaching in these challenging times of crisis. For Turkey, we found that 81% of the grade 8 students are taught by teachers, indicating a need for future professional development towards integrating technology into mathematics instruction. We also asked about the training that they conducted. And only 34% of the students are taught by teachers who actually participated in professional development during the last 2 years in the same respective area of training, integrating technology into mathematics instruction. So clearly we see a difference between the professional development that's been taken by teachers and that they say that they require. Another aspect, also we look at the current times of digital education, it's computers and how they're integrated in mathematics lessons. In 2019, the Timss international average of grade 4 students who attended schools where computers were available for students to use during mathematics lessons was 43% and 39% in 2015. In Turkey, we saw that in 2019, grade 4 students who attended schools where computers were available for use during mathematics lessons was 16%. When we compare that to the previous cycle of Timss, there it was 30% of the Turkish students, grade 4 students, who said that they had computers available for use during the mathematics lesson. So we see a severe decline here in the availability of computers. Actually, the same is true also for science. There, the students who reported that computers were available for use during the science lesson was 20% in 2019, compared to 33% in 2015. But on the positive side, what we can see is if we look at the type of computer access, so we ask if there's one computer in the classroom, or if students have to share a computer, or if they have computers for their own. And what we found is that the percentage of 4th grade students in Turkey that have a computer to themselves during mathematics lessons increased from 4% in 2015 to 13% in 2019. And also for science, for 8th grade, we saw an increase from 6% to 8%. So overall, fewer students, but the computers that were available in 2019 then were available for each student individually. And when we look also at the science data, again, we see a smaller increase, but again, an increase from 5% to 8% for 4th grade. And amazingly, an increase from 6% to 17% of the students, of the grade 8 students who have a computer to themselves available during science lesson. So let me finally come to my conclusions. What I would like to see you taking with you is that achievement of Turkish students has increased significantly and reached a very good middle and upper middle position if you look at the international comparisons. We also saw that Turkish girls did better than boys, but the boys are catching up with the girls. Turkey has a very good percentage of students reaching high levels of abilities in mathematics and even more in science. But there is still a relatively high percentage of Turkish students not reaching minimum achievement levels. As in most countries, in Turkey, there's a clear need for further teacher professional development, especially, and that was the result throughout all the countries, in the area of digital competencies. But another area was also how to teach 21st century skills. Also there, teachers around the world, and also in Turkey, required more professional development. And although students increasingly have individual access to computers during lessons, fewer students have access to computers in general during lessons in mathematics and science. And with that, I would like to thank you very much. Teşekkür ederim. I apologize for my bad Turkish, but that's all I can do. Thank you very much for inviting me and listening.
Son açık mı? Yakın. Dr. Hastat, thank you indeed for this elaborate and inspiring presentation. You underlined Turkish students' improvement at Timss, and this is a great motivation for Turkish educators. I suggest all the attendees at the conference will benefit a lot from your speech. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Değerli eğitimciler, şimdi Sayın Bakanımız
Distinguished educators, we have now His Honorable Mr. Minister. He knows the classroom and schools very well. He thinks education is a matter of the country, and he led the way for a great transformation in remote education in Turkey, and he has been working day and night for moving into face-to-face education in schools. I'd like to give a small introduction about him. He did his studies in Ankara University in the area of psychological counseling and doctorates in Hacettepe University, doctorate degree in Hacettepe University. He worked as lecturers and administrators in higher education institutions for a long time, and he was the chair of the Board of Education of Turkey. And he also chaired lots of institutions, organizations, and NGOs. He also acted as a columnist, and he also was a project manager in a number of international projects. He led the way for modeling and establishment of lots of schools. Guidance, observation of behaviors, learning, and temperament. About those topics, he have books and hundreds of articles. You have the floor, Mr. Minister. Thank you.
Evet, Ankara Eğitim Platformu'nun çok değerli üyeleri.
Distinguished members of Ankara Education Platform, distinguished professionals, fellow colleagues, and distinguished guests, Dr. Dirk Hasset, I would like to greet you all and welcome you wholeheartedly. I would like to welcome you all. Today, we are going through very interesting times, especially in terms of education, because pandemics occur once every 100 years. But today we are going through a pandemic, and it is an issue that we all have to tackle with as education systems across the world. We, as the Ministry of National Education, with the Vision of Education 2020-2023, we set off our journey, and we committed to react to the changes that are happening in the environment. And in order to take the right decisions, we are striving hard to be prepared. Well, of course, just like in all other journeys, there might be some unexpected encounters in this one as well. And since March 2020, we have been going through a hard time, and we have had an interesting agenda. Closing down of schools and suspension of face-to-face education is something that we have not thought that would become true. And blended education, transforming the education system and the medium of delivery. We had to update all our processes. During this time, of course, we faced some difficulties and some challenges. However, just like in all other circumstances and events, the pandemic also has some opportunities. And for teachers, for students, for parents and family members, pandemic is an opportunity for some positive change. And it also brings about new opportunities for developing new skills. So while implementing what the conditions require us to do, it is important to provide the conducive infrastructure environment for teachers and for students, and to make them prepared are among the most important things that we had to undertake. Of course, our main paradigm is equal opportunities in education, and that has been our priority in distance education as well. And in March, in a 10-day period, we established 3 TV channels so that we could broadcast the classes, and they are continuously broadcasted. Education classes are broadcasted at primary, junior secondary, and upper secondary school levels. And thousands of videos have been uploaded, and students can watch the content in the channels for primary, junior high, and senior high school levels. We established the infrastructure using the television channels because TV is something that everyone has access to. It's one of the main tools that people have access to. Since the start of distance education, EBA platform has been visited for more than 16 billion times. EBA stands for Distance Education IT Portal, and it is the abbreviation EBA, EBA. And it has been the most visited website in the educational sector. Live classes and applications were integrated into the system, and 3 million subjects can be delivered. Well, of course, in all countries, similar education portals and websites are available. However, according to Google data, international data, Turkey is first, and it has the website most frequently visited by teachers and students. And for primary, for junior high, and for senior high, we are one of those few countries that could establish dedicated channels for each of these 3 main levels. And it is important for education as well as for communication with the people, because people needed psychosocial support. We have a center operational 24/7. We have professionals, psychologists, experts, and parents, guardians, children can call this center to satisfy their needs and to ask their questions. So this was a practice that was awarded as the 2nd most successful application across the world. And EBA IT Assistant was awarded the most successful across the world. IT support for education and robot assistant is among the most frequently used assistant across the world for education sector. In order to provide fair access to education opportunities we provided, we really strive hard to help people. And across Turkey, especially in those areas with problems related to access, 14,300 support rooms have been established for IT support for education. In every room, there are average 10 computers, and there are also other elements of infrastructure helping students have access. In 14,300 rooms, in the remotest places, we can provide this IT support, and 170 mobile IT support centers have been established. We have mobile teams going to the villages and remote settlements and also the small residential areas to help people to serve children in need. 14,300 centers are available, and we are increasing this number each and every day. And our children are going to the nearest school to benefit from these IT support rooms. They don't need to go to the school that they are enrolled in. They can go to the closest school, the closest center that is available to them in order to receive services to have access to online classes. And around 1 million students, and regarding their access to tablets, in the first round, 500,000 tablets will be delivered by the end of January, taking into consideration the income level of parents, the number of siblings, and other criteria, and around 360,000 of the 500,000 that are due in end January have already been delivered, and this number will be completed to 500,000 by end January. And we have been supported by some NGOs and some organizations, and with their support, around 200,000 more tablet PCs have already been delivered to our children, and we have some efforts on the way in order to increase the number of tablets to be delivered to students. We do not consider education as an area of problems. We consider education as an area of solutions. And in the vision paper for 2023, this is the main aspect that we have emphasized. And in the last 18 years, given the infrastructure provided by the Republic, in line with the paradigm, we strive hard to provide contribution for improvement. Distinguished participants, in teacher training, previously we had limited number of face-to-face, around 30,000 in-service training capacity. And during the pandemic, we reached 840,000 teachers for teacher training. So we initiated a very serious professional development process: mathematics, storytelling, drama, museum training, disaster training, IT thinking, correct use of Turkish language, correct tone of voice, counseling, and technology training are among the topics which have been covered through the practical and theoretical training sessions that have been delivered to teachers. And this process is ongoing, and around 1,000 design and skills workshops have been made available. So we are trying to ensure that our children have the knowledge and the ability to perform tasks. In vocational and technical education, in line with the positive changes and the developments initiated, we keep implementing activities. Students are preferring vocational and technical education schools, and the number of students enrolled in vocational schools increased by 60%, which is a pleasing development. And we are also working on digital ventilators, ultraviolet devices, masks, patient beds, are produced by students of vocational high schools, and vocational high schools are now a success story as a result of the developments and the investment made. After drawing this general framework, I would like to talk about the main topic of discussion today, Timss 2019. So Timss has a vast experience and it has a long history, and Timss provides us the big picture about the students of participating countries. It is very functional and it provides very valuable information in order to help countries to better analyze their educational systems and the elements included therein. And as regards policy making, Timss study also guides the countries. In Timss 2019, Turkey, as you already know, has increased its score in all areas, and it also increased in the list of countries in their ranking. And the analysis conducted also showed that Turkey has had a performance that exceeded the expectations. There are some socioeconomic differences between countries which also should be taken into consideration, and Turkey is among the good performing countries which participated. And in the analysis, we can see that mathematical performance has increased, and socioeconomic level is really very important in increasing the performance. And the second thing concerns school environment and the variables. As schools attach more importance to academic performance and achievement, that school students' achievement increase in mathematics and science. And if those schools do not consider academic performance and achievement as important, they do not have a good performance. And there is a difference between schools attaching more importance and less importance that amounts up to 60 points. So we can see that school discipline, as in the previous practices in Timss 2019, is an important variable that makes a difference. Schools with discipline problems and schools that do not have discipline problems have a difference in science around 30 points, and in mathematics they have a difference of score amounting up to 40 points. So regarding variables, regarding teachers and classroom environment for Turkey, we can see that when teachers are experienced and they have good level of job satisfaction, they have good scores, and their students have good scores, and non-attendance also contributes significantly to low performance. Regarding frequency of conducting experience in science classes, there is a remarkable finding. So the frequency of conducting experiments in science decreases the success according to results concerning Turkey. So 475 on average students said that they would have experiments once, and the average for those who conduct experiments a couple of times a year, they scored on average 541. So we are going to analyze this remarkable and interesting result concerning the frequency of conducting experiments. Another important issue that we have to analyze is our students at fourth grade participate with fifth graders. This is about the time they start school, and we published reasons in the preliminary report for Timss 2019, and we provided the necessary explanation in that preliminary report. Our students start fourth grade when they are relatively younger compared to other students in other countries. So for this year, we decided that fifth graders will participate for the fourth grade evaluation. And the average score was increased by Turkey, and the additional 40 points were scored. And in 2019, in the field of science, among 58 countries, Turkey ranks the 23rd. So you already know the numbers, so I'm not going to cover them in detail and not elaborate on them. But one way or another, there is a significant rising trend. In 2015, among 47 countries, Turkey ranked the 35th in science, but in 2019, among 58, Turkey ranked the 19th. According to the data presented in Timss evaluation, the average score, which is 500, and on both sides of the average, Turkey outperformed good amount of countries, and there is a performance improvement, and we can see this improvement in all regions of Turkey, which is a good development. But are we standing at where we want to be? No, we have bigger goals. We have gained an impetus. There is a rising trend. Last year, we had a rising trend in PISA, and this year we also improved our performance. But this rising trend should also be taken into consideration. Results should be analyzed, and we should translate the findings into new policies and new applications and studies. We'll take the measures as necessary, and we are going to we are going to raise the bar? Well, of course, we have some dreams. We want to be among the top 10 countries. So we are going to do whatever it takes in order to be in the top 10. Turkey has the capability and it has the capacity to achieve a rank in the top 10. In international and national data, in order to improve our success, we need to rely on scientific methods. We have to work hard and we have to insistently implement the policies that are necessary. And we have a bigger hope today in order to make that possible. TIMSS and other international evaluations are not the only criteria for us. Reasoning, critical thinking, interpretation, reading comprehension. There are many other skills which are very, very important. This is one area, and another area is what we refer to as combining the mind with the heart. We consider the evaluations as very important, and in making policies in education in Turkey, we are frequently referring to the data gathered by the international evaluations. And Turkish national education system has its own specificities, has its own applications, and it has its own environment, and it has its own differences. Taking those into consideration, we comparatively analyze the data in order to translate them into new policies to be implemented. As a country, when we do it together, when we work together, we work with people, when we work as citizens of this country, I am pretty sure that we can achieve our goals to be more successful in education. Education is all about agreement. It's a duty, a national duty, which should be underlined. Distinguished participants, finally, I would like to conclude by saying that I would like to appreciate the efforts of our teachers who worked selflessly. And I also would like to appreciate the efforts of education professionals. You have a huge meaning for us. Schools, including private ones, are integral parts, and we have to work together in order to raise the bar, to produce some innovative policies that would produce new results that would bring us a lot of benefit for the whole country. So we would continue expecting contributions of private schools and will continue implementing projects together. I would like to thank teachers in state schools and private schools. What you do is sacred. So thank you very much for standing up for your students, parents, students, and teachers acted in solidarity, especially during the pandemic. This solidarity has strengthened. So this is one of the advantages that we have developed. When parents are happy, children are happy, and teachers are happy. Those are very important things for us. And we have a principled decision to open the schools whenever possible, because we are the Ministry of National Education, and our principal duty is to keep the schools open and use that as an environment where teachers meet the students and students meet the teachers. Taking into consideration the findings of our National Health Committee and Scientific Committee, will take into consideration the restrictions imposed, and we'll do our best in order to achieve the perfect result that is possible. When we work together, collaborate and cooperate, without favoring one over the other, without discrimination, when we work for the students, when we work for the children of this country, we'll have better future for Turkey and for the world as a whole, for the mankind as a whole. Education is a real area of solutions, and we are determined to find solutions. I would like to thank all the organizers and everyone who contributed to this process. Distinguished members of Ankara Education Platform, I expect a continuation of your good work. Please keep up the good work, and we are open for proposals for cooperation. I would like to extend my deepest regards and thank you very much for your kind attention. Your Excellency, thank you very much for sharing your nice words, and thank you very much for your remarks, for your speech. and you underlined the objective of Turkey entering the top 10 most successful countries, and we are going to do our best to make that a reality. So there are some questions, and we would like to ask those questions to Your Excellency and to Mr. Director. Mr. Executive Director, you know this topic very well. You're on top of this topic, and he knows the world and he knows Turkey very well. So, of course, he's best positioned to give the answers.
Mr. Hastad, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Dr. Hastad, I have 2 questions for you from our attendees.
Sure.
I'm going to ask all together. First one, what is the reason for your institution that you're just concentrating on maths and science fields at Timss Studies? Why not other fields?
Okay. Shall I reply
The
to that?
second question is,
Okay.
what do you recommend for the students and their schools who could not pass the low success threshold?
Okay, thank you very much for these questions. Number one, Timss is a study on mathematics and science achievement. We do have other studies. We have our Pearl study, which is focusing on reading abilities of students. We have a civic and citizenship education study. And we also do have a study that is focusing on digital literacy in general. So we have a very big range of different studies, and all countries are invited to participate in these studies that for them are most meaningful to inform policy. So we have differences, and indeed, I also think it's very important to see education holistically and do not focus only on core subjects, but please do open up your perspective. Also, the results that you've seen from Timss have given you some information on the education system, but it is clearly not the whole story. And as we just heard also, there's many, many more other aspects. And among them, of course, especially in these difficult times, is also social emotional stability also of students who are, as we all, in very challenging times. So I agree, education needs to be taken and viewed holistically. So we have different studies looking at the different subjects. Secondly, what can be done to improve education? I think also there, you heard already a lot of information afterwards. And I think I just can agree that an emphasis on academic success of students plays an immense role also for the achievement of students, as you also just have heard. That's also one of the results that we saw in Timss. Another aspect is, of course, also an early start. And I saw also there was a question about kindergarten and preschool. All of that also plays an important role. Having an early start also helps students to develop further. And we can still see, even after 4 or 5 years of schooling, that kindergarten and preschool education has an immense effect also on later achievement of students. But there's also one aspect that we should not forget, and this is the parents and education. I think your ministry can do a lot, but we all can do something for our children in telling the students how important education is, how important it is to be good. We cannot just leave it to the schools and think that they will do it somehow. But it's a duty that we all have to make sure that our students understand it's important to achieve well. And this is what the 21st century requires. So I think an early start supported by kindergarten, preschool, by early school is important. But also there's a lot of things that parents already can do in providing good help for having a good start for all the students. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hastad. Sayın Bakanım, Timms'le alakalı sorular size yazılı olarak
Mr.
iletilmiş.
Minister, I think you got the written version of the questions about Timss. Did you get the question, sir? Yes, I did. Especially about preschool data. People are asking for details about preschool data, but these are the details that I cannot go into details at the moment. But having a compulsory preschool education system, having children in preschool system early in life is important, as mentioned before. It is important, as we understand from the international literature data as well. So we are trying hard in order to increase accessibility of preschool education for children during remote education under remote education circumstances. Still, we try to have access, reach out to the preschoolers, and we also we have continued to do training activities for the preschool teachers, etc. So we agree on the importance of the preschool education. Preschool education cannot be emphasized enough when it comes to its importance. On the other hand, developing technology, what kind of training can be delivered to the teachers for them to integrate advanced technology into instruction? Well, about that question, we have been signing protocols with a variety of organizations and institutions, especially during pandemic, so that our teachers can get national and international certificates on integrating digital competencies into instruction. A total 128,000 teachers in Turkey got certificates from Google, Cisco, and similar international organizations recognizing their competence in this respect. I think the numbers will go up because what we see is our teachers, they are trying to manage the system in EBA, which is a remote education platform in Turkey. They are trying to manage the system, do the instruction there. They had to develop professionally. They had to improve their digital skills themselves, actually, because of the pandemic. And I believe all the teachers, they really went up when it comes to competencies in digital instruction. Some 1 million teachers learned how to do remote instruction, live lessons, doing animations, videos. They had access to lots of videos and search engines. They could give remote tasks to their students, assign exams in digital platform. These are all ordinary things. These are quite ordinary in EBA, in remote education platform today. And teachers could do it. They learned how to do it greatly. So we wanted to have it in the long term, but we could have it in the short term because of the pandemic. This is why when it comes to professional teaching of teachers, starting from the candidate teachers studying in the university, we will be focusing more on their improved competencies, and we are still negotiating with a number of more organizations for professional development of the teachers. There's one last question about writer teachers with a writing background, who are literature writers at the same time. This is important. I mean, teachers being competent in literature, and I believe we can make use of these teachers in a number of areas. Especially, we have literature writing labs, laboratories, and we can make use of those teachers there. The thing is, the numbers of those labs would go up, and we can get the contribution, and we can benefit from and utilize those writer teachers. We will do something about it in the near future. Thank you, Mr. Minister, Mr. Director. That was the end of the conference. I'd like to thank everybody for their presentations. You can have access to the presentations in the website of Ankara education platform, and also the account, the social media accounts of the platform. You can find the presentations there. I'd like to thank His Excellency Mr. Minister, and I'd like to thank our distinguished guest, Dr. Doug Hastad, Executive Director of IEA. Thank you very much for your huge contribution. I'd like to thank everybody for their nice contribution, and hope to see you on nice days in a healthy manner. Thank you for the conference. All the best to you all. Thank you. We would like to see you in the next meetings. Of course, Mr. Minister, we would be more than delighted to attend the next meetings. Mr. Hastad, thank you very much for your contribution. So,
Thank you very much. I also looking forward to see you once in person and not only virtually. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay then, sir, we hope to see you this summer in Turkey.
Teşekkürler. Hoşça kalın.
thank you indeed. Thank you.